Hey VC, what's going on? Welcome back, Mike. This is Hubtunes. Doing a concert review. It's been a while. My first concert of 2022 is well, when I started these, I was so excited to be back and seeing live music and concerts and everything. So I thought it was a good idea to do reviews of them. And every concert I was seeing was absolutely amazing, and I was absolutely thrilled with, and walked out of the door, just loving life. And then I went to this concert, and I wasn't going to do a review of it. And then I was like, well, wait, if you're doing a concert review series, you have to review the ones that maybe weren't so up to par, right? So I'm going to do a concert review of a band called Geese. I mentioned them in one of my previous videos. I think I might have mentioned them. Either way, this is Geese. They are a pretty cool band. I believe they're out of New York City. I could be wrong on that. They just had their debut on Colbert, and this is their debut album called Projector. It is absolutely fantastic and one of my favorite records of 2021. Little history, I guess. So there's a music festival here in Chicago called Tomorrow Never Knows. It's 3 nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's at 4 different venues. You can buy passes for the whole thing, or you can just buy individual show tickets. And I think you can buy individual day tickets too. It's pretty cheap. I know when I was buying weekend passes for it a couple years ago, it was only like $50 for a weekend pass to see like probably 50 different bands, 40 different bands. And it was really cool. A lot of, it's basically showcasing a lot of bands that just had debut records or are looking for contracts, stuff like that. So a lot of unknown artists. There's nobody really big. And it's fun. It's really interesting. I don't do the 3-day pass anymore because first of all, it's January in Chicago, and it's difficult to get from one bar to another. You got to Uber or taxi, and it's usually shitty weather. And the 3-day pass ended up just being more of a hassle than anything. So I kind of, now if I see a band that I really want to see, I'll just grab a ticket for that concert itself, or even a day pass if there's a couple of bands. I'm not super into the festival as I used to be. But when I heard this band, Geese, was going to be there, I was all over it because I absolutely love this record. They are kind of a punky, post-popish band. Great vocalist. The vocalist reminds me of what's his name? Michael Hutchence from In Excess. A little bit of him. I hear that Michael Hutchence influence throughout the record. It's a really good record. So it's the show was at Lincoln Hall, which is a wonderful place to see a concert in Chicago. It's the old 3-penny movie theater, right across from the Biograph Theater, the famous Biograph Theater in Chicago on Lincoln Avenue. It's a really cool place to see a show. It's very small. I think 300 people maybe is the capacity. I did see a sign on the wall that said 179, but there's no way. They were definitely putting in more than 179 people. General admission, $18, 3 bands on the bill. I walk up to the door, and in front of me is a gaggle of 4 or 5 like 15-year-olds, and they show on their Vax cards and their IDs and everything and whatever, and they go in, and then the security guard looks at me and asked me if I was their father. So it was one of those kind of evenings. I am not their father. I could be. I mean, he wasn't wrong to ask that question, but yeah, that's how the evening started off. So I went straight to the bar to get a scotch and water. And the first band came out, and they were absolutely horrendous. They were called Native Sons. They were young, punk, cocky. They were not my style of music, just not my thing. And they had way too much confidence for as young as they were. I mean, these kids were cocky, and I don't even think they have an album out. It was, but there were a lot of people there who were there to see them. Like, I bet there was a crowd of like 25 people right up at the stage that apparently knew their music and absolutely loved them. So good for them. Good exposure. It's a good festival for these people to get exposure, and that's what it's for. The second band that came on was a band called Gustav, and they were interesting. I was actually really into them. They sounded like a blend of the Talking Heads and Cake, if that's possible. But they had a female vocalist. I think majority of the band was female. The guitarist was a male, I believe. And the lead singer was really entertaining, and she was personable, and she was pretty cool. Their sound was very much like Cake. And after about 5 songs, yeah, it was I was over it. But they were really good. They kept me going, and I was like, okay, no, after the first band, this band, at least inspired me to stay. So then Geese comes out, and Geese, now the place is packed, absolutely packed. And I'm on the main floor, but I'm up like a little bit of level, so I'm not really around people. And I'm on a railing, which is my go-to spot where I always stand when I go to this venue. And it was a young crowd. It was a really young crowd. It did get a little bit older as the headliner, as Geese came on. It did get a little bit older. So Geese comes on, and they open with a song that I've never heard before, and it's wild. They're like, the lead singer is just jumping all over the stage, and the guitarist is in his underwear, and it was, I don't know, it was fine, and then like the second song I knew from the album, but it was played at a much higher pace and it didn't sound anything like the record. And then they played another song that I didn't know, and then they played like another song I didn't know. They played like 4 songs in the first 5 that I didn't know, and they have 1 album. So I'm like, okay. And then they played a bunch of songs from the album, and they were okay. They were okay. My only issue is the lead singer. He's got a really good voice, and you could hear it, but for most of the show, he was just yelling. Like, he was yelling and jumping around so much. He was jumping around so much that he was just yelling. He wasn't even singing. And it was really disappointing because I know he has a good voice because I've heard their album. He sounds great. All he did was yell. For an hour and 20 minutes, he just yelled and yelled and yelled. And then they did the encore, and it was their hit Off of Here, and that was it. And I walked out and got in my car and went home. It was disappointing. It was very disappointing. But check out this record. This is Geese, Projector. I highly, highly recommend this record. They are pretty cool, a good young bunch of musicians. They suck live. Bye.